too.
Yeah, we need Savannah's book, and we also need
It was a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone.
All right, welcome to Making a Difference Wednesday here in the Fishbowl on the award-winning Mad Radio Show with John and Sam. We are your first responder network and healing our heroes. We are dedicated to providing first responders with the most updated mental health resources available to you. We are coming to you live from Globe Life Park, the heart of the entertainment district here in Arlington, Texas, broadcasting you live from the Fishbowl Radio Network studios. And I want to welcome Sam. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Man, we have had a great September, looking to roll that into a great October.
I still have not recovered from our September. Oh my gosh, so many amazing events. And this past, what was it, Saturday?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, between the 9/11 Heroes Run, the reading of the names in September, the naming of the bridge, the beginning of the park, and now really meeting with four wonderful law enforcement agencies to discuss solutions and bring more awareness to their departments. Speaking with these high-level chiefs and finding out that even their programs that they have in place still have some minor adjustments that need to be done. Some need a lot more adjustments than others, but I'm glad that we were able to sit with Trauma Behind a Badge and Survive First and us, a badge of honor, to bring that to light to these departments. And that's what we need to do. We got to keep raising that awareness, keep showing these departments that even though you have a plan in place, there's always room for growth.
Yeah, and I think that they learn that by meeting with the troops, if you will, that and those of us that have suffered and gone before, and how we got well, and it helps everybody think out of the box, because there's not one cookie cutter way. You know, a lot of people talk about, oh, we need a national program to roll out to every department. And as you and I know from talking to departments of different sizes, that's not feasible, really.
No,
I mean, if you have,
some.
Like NYPD, which is over 50,000 versus, city of Rockwall, which maybe no. How many did they have?
I think they were 57.
57 sworn or something like that. So, sorry, Rockwall, if we got that wrong.
Yeah.
There were so many departments, so many numbers. It's just not they all realize that they need to have a program in place, and it's just such a blessing to be able to work with amazing folks out there with their programs to, again, bring awareness, because it's not like you don't have anything and why are you letting your children. We truly care so much that it's like, we don't want you to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
There are plenty of resources out there. Start here, start with this. So, we don't promote one over the other. We take the best of what is out there. The vetted ones, exactly. We talk about them and we show them that, not all officers are the same. We don't suffer the same. Some of us respond to different treatment, if treatment's even necessary.
Right.
But the biggest thing across the board that I think you and I helped, and Trauma Behind the Badge, we helped them realize is you cannot do this in-house. Confidentiality, you must have out of department resources from the moment that somebody asks for assistance. They have to be able to look outside the department and get that assistance.
And I'm not going to call out the department. I'm not going to say who it was, but it's the little things that you do in your department that you may not notice. And me and Sam were at a department the other day, and we were walking around, and we were going back to the office, and you noticed the sign on the office door that said mental health office.
Yeah, we need to quit that.
Right. And I'm sure it was done not thinking, but as an officer going into the mental health office,
stigma.
You are placing a stigma on somebody, right? So, just like it would be the captain's office or the lieutenant's or the training room or whatever, you put it as the mental health office, saying, this is where you get mentally healthy.
Well, wait a second. First of all, if you're getting called into the LTs or the captains, okay, everybody knows your shit.
Right.
There's something going on, because that's not a normal, day-to-day thing.
Right.
So same thing.
Right.
So why would you even want to put that out there? I mean, let's use words like wellness. Let's use words like resiliency. Positive.
Yeah, because... Yeah. Man, when you brought that up, I mean, you were just like dumbfounded. You were like, "That's not good."
Wait a second here. Yeah,
you can't put a sign that says might as well just slap it on the officer's head.
Yeah.
And that department is really trying. They are trying to give as much support to their officers as possible. But it's the little things, and they're like, well, why ain't this working? Well, let's start with the sign.
Right.
Because she even said,
let's start with the label you're throwing out there.
Right.
Nobody's
she even
coming.
said, no one's coming to my office. No one really comes to my office and talks to me. Well, because you got that big mental health office thing on your door, nobody wants to see going into it. That's why psychiatrists and psychologists have a front door in and a back door out. This way it's confidentiality. Going in and out, and if you're seen even if you're sitting there talking to the mental health officer on a peer-to-peer friendly basis, just going in to say hello, how you doing, because you guys are peers, just somebody passing by that office, seeing you sitting there talking, not knowing the conversation, like, oh, they must be crazy.
Yeah.
So there's
maybe call it the Wellness and Resiliency Library and put a crap ton of books.
Yes.
You know me, I'm a book person.
Right, but that's
and
true.
Reading a brand new book that's blowing my mind is really cool.
But that would make a difference.
Who doesn't want to go to a library?
I don't.
To learn stuff.
I will only go to a library in a riot.
You don't want to learn, so Michael doesn't want to learn.
No, I'll go to a library in a riot situation.
Yeah.
Because nobody
all right, I guess I'm the odd person out here.
Nobody ever loots the library.
Yeah.
You never ever see somebody go, oh, I got to go get War and Peace before. No one ever, no one ever does that. So the safest place during a riot situation is in the library. No one burns them down. No one goes in. That's the safest place for,
Yeah, and our guest today, who'll be calling in, I think he's going to shed a lot of light. He speaks to departments and also a lot of civic groups, just to bring awareness to what's going on. He's got an incredible story. He's still on the job, and respect for his anonymity. We're bringing him in by phone.
Yep.
So if you guys have questions, the Mad Radio Facebook, Making a Difference TX on Facebook, you can go ahead and submit your question for Mike.
Yeah,
there we'll just call him Mike.
When we discuss law enforcement stress, we talk post-traumatic stress injury within our law enforcement officers. The daily, day-to-day things that they encounter sticks with them. You can't unsee the scene, right?
Right.
But when you talk about going into an undercover role, like we spoke with Tegan last week, and I got to speak with Jay Dobbins, who infiltrated the Hells Angels, and Tegan infiltrated the Crips.
Still boggles my mind.
Right.
Clean cut white guy.
I know.
It just is crazy.
But it brings a whole new level of stress, and it's funny. I just saw my daughter pop on. Hey, Jess, glad you're tuning into the show. And my daughter knows firsthand the damage that I have within me from law enforcement and post-traumatic stress. But when I went undercover, when I was in narcotics, there was a point in time where I had a van outside my house, and I would walk my daughter to school, and they would follow us to school because I had death threats against me and my partner from a certain
what you were working
and I had a radio at home, and my daughter knew I was walking. She was in second grade. I was walking her to Catholic school around the block, and she would wonder why there are other people outside, and that's just it's a weird thing. It brings a whole new level of stress to the family because now you have to worry, and especially if you're in the same community or around the same towns, because now even going to the movies or going out to dinner is a stressful area because you don't know if you're going to encounter one of your subjects or one of your people, and what do you do? Now you're out with your wife having a anniversary dinner, and one of your subjects walks into that same restaurant, or one of your subjects walks into the same club you're out with. Now you got to turn from husband or wife to dirtbag drug dealer or undercover role.
Yeah.
So now you're bringing your family member into it, saying, if this happens, this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
That brings stress.
I think this might be him calling me, but on my cell phone.
He's calling you on your cell phone?
Yeah.
All right, just give him the 214 number. I think he called the wrong number, but that's all right.
It won't let you call that number?
214-556-6239. We'll call him.
It says subscriber's not available. Okay, so we'll call you. Is it at the number that you gave me?
Yeah, so
it's on your
just getting back to everybody. Undercover work within law enforcement. The law enforcement officers will take time to make a difference within their community, but they also go to that next level, and they join SWAT teams, they join bomb squads, they go into narcotics, they go into gang initiatives. They are putting their lives on the line for the safety of the community, and to do an undercover role at different levels where you're going deep undercover into either a gang or into organized crime or into human trafficking, whatever it is, you're putting your life at a higher risk of danger. You're putting your family at a higher risk, and the levels of stress become to get to a point where you have to the role that you're playing in this undercover aspect becomes part of your persona, becomes part of you. So are we calling Mike?
Yep.
All right. We're gonna get Mike on the line and hear what he has to say. He is part. Mike, you there?
I am.
Hey,
Hi.
Thank you so much for calling us calling you. Thank you so much for being a guest here on the Mad Radio Show. Me and Sam welcome you, and we were talking about different levels of stress within law enforcement. Daily patrol life gives you a certain amount of stress levels, but when you go undercover into a role, either being narcotics or organized crime or human trafficking, it elevates that to a level that most people don't see.
Yeah, and for those of you just coming on, we've got Mike on the line with us. He's got over 26 years in law enforcement, 23 of those he calls in dope. I love that. He's a task force officer with U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force in the Eastern District of Missouri. And he's been in 2 officer-involved shootings, and I definitely want to get into that because, Mike, you and I discussed offline how different responses to those shootings and what you do when you go out and talk, some with a training solutions group called NNF, but also what you do with the civic groups to bring people and enlighten them on what it is really like to be an officer, especially nowadays, and the stresses that you're under. Because most of what you do, you talk about the shootings themselves, but you go even deeper, involving your story, other officers, partners, dispatchers, and the loved ones, which John was just touching on, that are often forgotten about. And we opened the show talking about stigma. And yeah, so let's kind of dive into it, because your story, how did you, it's 26 years, man. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first one was involved in '95, and it was the old, drink a beer, figure it out, don't tell anybody, don't talk to anybody, you just suck it up and go back to work. And we're realizing now that that's not a good thing. We've got officers that I know in 2019 there was 228 suicides because we're not able to talk about it. But the difference between '95 and now is huge. But we still we're still losing 228 a year. Officers and family members. And we've got to change that. So that's what I'm trying to push is, as an old school cop, it's okay to, ask for help, or it's okay to get counseling. It's okay to, cry. It's okay to not be okay. And that's kind of what we push, in our trainings is, we can't keep killing ourselves, because of a job. So that's kind of what I push when I'm doing my different trainings.
Yeah, that's great. And you said the tagline, it's okay not to be okay. That's what we're pushing a lot. A lot of organizations are pushing that and bringing to light. And I think it's the fact that we can, like, you can get up there and tell our stories to give the officers the aha moments, like, well, dang, I haven't been through half the crap he's been through. And it's not, oh, what am I crying about? Or why don't I suck it up? It's, he asked for help and got better, so I can do the same thing.
Exactly. It's that peer, instead of the peer pressure, it's peer support. And we need to change it from peer pressure to peer support. Well, one of my shootings, one of the officers had some issues, and he was a younger kid, and he got some counseling, and we're glad he did, but he was getting trouble from some of the old school guys of, why did it take you so much longer to come back to work than the guy who actually got shot? And we're trying to push that there's always more than just physical wounds. And the old school thinking, and I was old school and still am, but we have to get rid of that because it still affects us all, and it affects our families, our dispatchers. My wife's been greatly affected by my last shooting, and she's getting counseling now, and it's great. It's something that we're open to, and we just need to make sure that, we would never let another officer fight alone on the street, but yet why do we do it when, at nighttime or when the darkness comes? So we're trying to push that it's okay to ask for help, and when somebody asks for help, you make sure you're there for them, just like you would on the street. If somebody calls for help on the radio.
You said your second shooting, your wife was severely affected by it.
Correct. My first shooting, I was single. I was probably 22 years old, 23 years old. Didn't know how to deal with it. I ended up dealing with it fine, but my second one was, I had a wife, or I have a wife still, who, has 2 boys, and it affected her more because it hit her more of, everything she cares about was almost taken away in less than 2 seconds.
That brings exactly to what I believe in, is that we fail to look at the bleeded trauma, or the vicarious trauma, the crossover going into our family members. and when, on a 99, when we speak to Mongo, his wife, after his shooting, after 2 years of rehab and everything else and trying to get him better, she ended up taking her own life because the stress became too much,
Correct. We had one of the officers, the one who asked for help and got it. We're not sure exactly what happened, but it's been 2 years since the shooting now, and this last September, she ended up taking their 15-month-old, her life and her own life.
Oh my God.
Again, we can't 100% say it's from our shooting because he didn't want to read the suicide note or if it was any other issues, but it still affects our quote little family of that shooting, and we all have that bond, and so it affects us all. And there's a 15-month-old baby that had nothing to do with anything, but yet our shooting could have been associated with that. So we're trying to change that. We need to push it, and I get out there and tell all the officers that I know, look, it's okay to ask for help. Call me any time of the night, and there's an incredible lady out of St. Louis that's helping my wife, and we're getting through it. So
right.
It's better than not trying and just letting the shooting continue, basically, without getting any help.
Yeah, now I'm sure you've seen, like John and I have, going to the different departments. Somebody will reach out, they'll bring you in. And have you ever been in a situation where, you walk in and the higher ups, so everybody that those officers look to, kind of, they play it down. So they've still got that old school mentality, which we have to throw out. I don't care how long you've been a police officer, unless you have your head in the sand or in a body of water, whatever you want to call it. You have to understand, like, we're not making up these 200 plus suicides a year. It is real. And if it hasn't touched your department, it will.
Right. It's not a matter of if, it's
100,
when.
Right. 100%. I'm that guy. I'm that guy that I don't have any problems telling whether it's the President of the United States or the rookie that's low that this is wrong. I gave a presentation in front of probably 80 officers that I work with almost every day, or at least in the area, and I had zero problems telling them, look, I'm going to talk about this elephant in the room, and I don't care if anybody's upset, because I just don't want to lose another officer. And again, it's not just affecting me as the officer involved in the shooting. It's affecting the families. It's affecting our kids. It's affecting our parents. And so I have zero problems telling those admins, look, you need this training. You need somebody to come in and say, it's okay. Because sometimes they don't do that. Like you said, they stick in the whole old school thinking. And again, we outnumbered in 2019, probably like close to 170 deaths. We had 170 more suicides than we did officers killed, quote, in the line of duty.
Yeah, well,
that's outrageous.
When we talk, and when people look at line of duty deaths, you hit it right on the head. We're seeing more suicides than line of duty by gunshot wounds or violent. We've had officers killed in car accidents due to heart attacks on the job and other. But when we look at the gunshot or the stabbings or the violent attacks on police officers, our suicide rate trumps that by, man, almost 3/4. It's
exactly
it's
almost
much higher.
3%. Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Yeah. But I wanted to touch on one thing with what you said about talking to the classes, and here's another issue I see, and I forgot who brought it up to me, but made a really good point about this. Was you got into shootings, right? You got into 2 shootings. So a younger officer who sees a dead body, right?
Right.
May not see that as significant enough to say, I need help. Because a young 22-year-old kid or 23-year-old officer who sees a dead body, who sees a shooting victim, that may affect them just as much as the shooting affected somebody else. And what I think a lot of young cops on a job are saying, well, that trauma wasn't significant enough to affect me, but it does. It has.
Right.
Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. We some of the training guys that I work with are actually training right now, and we talked about that today. One refers to it as a trash can. I refer to it as a filing cabinet. We take that death, we take that, doing CPR on a 3-day-old baby, and we crumble it up, and we put it in that filing cabinet, and we put it away. But then something else happens, and you put it away in the filing cabinet. You keep putting things in the filing cabinet, but a filing cabinet can only hold so much. And eventually that filing cabinet, that trash can is going to overflow. And it may be something very simple of, you just accidentally get into an argument with your wife. And that's what made the trash can overflow or the filing cabinet overflow. We're just trying to push how we can figure out talking about emptying those filing cabinets, those trash cans, because if not, eventually it's going to overflow.
But what I'm saying is, I'm thinking a lot of these young cops, and even the older cops, okay, when they hear about a shooting, or they hear about, hey, I killed this perp, or we got into this gun battle. They look at it as like, oh my God, so that's a trauma. That's huge. Or I was in this high speed pursuit, But they tend to take the daily things that they saw, the homicide, the rape victim, the domestic violence, the child who was struck by an auto, the bad MVA. These daily things they look at as normal activities, but they're still traumatizing to your brain. They still affect
100%.
the way you react in life. And we say, oh, it was only a car accident. We only lost one person. That still affects you. But because you minimize it, you minimize that trauma.
Right.
You fail to recognize it as a trauma, and you fail to ask for help and say, hey, I'm having I saw a dead body today.
Well, that's where I think the awareness piece comes in, because when we talk about resiliency, and Mike, please jump in on this, is that, there are numerous studies, from not only with police officers, but going back to prisoners of war and our troops that continue to come back, some with issues and some without. And they're looking all the way back now at your childhood. And not to go like Freudian or go somewhere wacky with this, but it's true. There's a lot of things that if you had a positive upbringing, both parents super supportive, there's this resilience that gets built up in you. And that's why we see, like, a good friend that he went to war, he went to Afghanistan, ambushed, he train wreck, other guy not. And I think with police work, it's the same way. That's what makes PTS difficult, but that's also what makes what we do so fascinating. It's meeting those officers, those soldiers who have been through what normal, quote unquote normal folks would say, oh my God, that's like super traumatic, and they're able to process it and be successful. Sure, does it affect them? Because absolutely, to say, oh, I never had a nightmare, or I never thought about it, or it didn't affect me. I think that's not real. That's not living in reality.
Right.
They just don't let it pervade their thoughts and kind of sit with them. Does that make sense?
It makes 100% sense.
100%. Yes. I mean, we see things that, I say this all the time, that us EMTs, fire, we see things that humans should never see. We're not meant to deal with that stuff, and our brains have a tough time doing it. And we do kind of compartmentalize it or rationalize it, and it's just it's quote part of the job, but we got to make sure that when, it's too much, that we're there for those officers or those, paramedics or those dispatchers or those wives or, that type of thing.
Yeah, and the family aspect, John and I, we've touched on that by, I think, like every show.
Yeah.
And when a big thing that the family doesn't realize is, when your loved one signs up, takes the oath, you sign up with them. And there's not a lot of education or, hey, want to give you a heads up here.
Well, I love my wife more than anything in the world. I tell everyone that I talk to, it is the worst job anyone's ever volunteered to do is to be a police officer's wife or paramedics or firefighters, because that's pretty much what they're doing. They're volunteering to be that, and they have to deal with that. Again, like you see a 3-day-old baby that uses CPR on, it's hard to come home and talk to your wife about normal things with that. So, and it's tough for them to understand that. And, we've actually had a good balance now of, if we are going to go do something with a fugitive unit or something that's very dangerous, that I simply text her, hey, I'm safe. And that's it. And she knows that I'm still busy and I'm not going to have time to talk about it, but at least I'm safe. Right. And then she can breathe again. Because for us, we go through that door. We may not want to go through the door, but we got to go through the door. And we go through the door. But for her, the second I leave that house, she's thinking of the worst the entire time that I'm gone until I text her.
Or until you get back.
Until what? I'm sorry?
I said, or until you get back home, because every time the phone rings,
right.
every time a car pulls up, it's always that thought in the spouse's head that is this that phone call? Is this that drive up?
Whenever I would go through the Marshall fugitive part, which is extremely dangerous, and I worked narcotics for 23 years, and I never had a problem with it because I kind of knew what I was doing. But the fugitive part is completely unscripted. It's on anything. We're going after the bad or the bad. I would grab my rifle, and anytime after the shooting that I went to grab my rifle out of the closet, it would almost be a trigger for her. So like I secure my rifle a different place in the house so that she doesn't have to see that and have to deal with it. But yes, 100%, they deal with it from the second I get the phone call to the second either I let her know that I'm okay or that I'm home. And it's the worst job anyone's ever volunteered for.
Now, being in such a dangerous field of law enforcement, like all law enforcement's dangerous, but you've put yourself into a higher level of danger, going after fugitives, going after narcotics trade. So this brings a higher level of stress on you, because you're hypervigilant. Your head is always on a swivel now. You're constantly in that protective state. How do you communicate with your wife and your kids about your job, and how do you heal those traumas within your family?
With her, I've learned that, like I said, I kind of have to open up a little bit to her and let her know what's going on. There was an incident that was pretty hairy, and I told her about it, and she was kind of upset. But I told her, look, you wanted me to tell you, so we kind of find a balance where I don't have to give her every detail, but at least open up to them. And as far as my boys, they just still see me as a hero. So it's easier for them, but with her, it's a little bit more difficult. We are what we are, and we always will be that way, whether we still have the badge on or not. And she understands that if something's happening, I'm always going to respond. Right. It's a tough balance. I mean, she's the sweetest person in the world. She prays for me. After I tell her I talk to you guys, she'll pray for you guys. She sprays me with holy water every night. I mean, she's all over all that, but it's tough on her. She doesn't see that side. Like I said, she's fairly innocent as far as, the stuff that we see, and I want to protect her from that. But I also have to open up to her too, so she doesn't, always think that I'm just lying to her and nothing happened. She understands that.
Sure.
How old are your kids?
One just turned 15 and one is 11. They're stepkids.
All right.
Luckily, I was able to step into a family that accepted me and loves me. And during the second shooting, she called me and said, "Do you want to tell the boys that what happened, or do you want me to? Because they can't figure out why I can't stop crying." And I told them, I said, "Just if you can, wait till I get home and I'll tell them." And I think they were okay with it as far as because I was still there to tell the story.
Right.
They kind of thought it was cool. Just because what they see on TV and stuff, but it's tough on them too. They know. The older they get, and especially with today's climate, they get. And some of my other officers that I work with, that I train with, their kids had come home and said, "Why are people now, saying you're the bad guy?"
I was tough. That was my next question, Mike. Because at 11 years old and 15-year-old, me and Sam were talking about this. Now our jobs are up close and personal on the news every single day. Kids can't not
in your face, frankly.
Right?
Yeah.
So kids are going to see the news. They're going to see the broadcast. They're going to see this shit on YouTube. They're going to see all this. So when you say my kids, relate to me as a hero, is this changing their mindset?
Yeah.
Is this causing a stress on them that's saying, "Hey, is that my dad? My dad wouldn't do that." it's conflicting,
Right.
especially at that age.
One of the guys I'm with here training with right now, he had the exact situation happen with his daughters, and she was like, "Dad, why are people calling you, the bad guy now?" And he texted us all, and we all kind of put our input in with him, but it's tough because we're getting such a bad rap right now, and it's tough for our kids. Luckily, we live in a smaller community that the one who goes to high school, I've spoke at before, and they've already asked to come back and speak. So we're a little bit easier than the bigger cities, but the cops in the big cities, they're getting beaten right now. It's just unjustly, in my opinion, but it's tough. I don't know. Ours are kind of shielded from that, but
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's the same. John lives in a much bigger city than I do, but we are starting to see the tide turn and much more positive for law enforcement. I would be remiss not to ask you to divulge how you keep that filing cabinet so well organized. Like, what are your daily practices?
well, it's just one of those things of once it's hard for us as narcotics guys to turn off the clock, but it's turn off the clock and go do the things that you enjoy. I left my house this morning at 5 a.m. and I worked last night till 11 a.m. But or 11 p.m. When I got home, I went into one of their rooms and just he was asleep. I could hear him snoring, but I still told him I love you and I'll miss you this week. And, it's just those little things of trying to find something that is pleasurable, as opposed to sitting there thinking about that filing cabinet. Again, I can't tell you that the next trauma incident that I'm involved in won't make my filing cabinet overflow. If it does, I have a good contact with the lady in St. Louis who I'm going to reach out for immediately. But I think the big thing is to realize that there is a filing cabinet. It's possible it could overflow, and when it does, reach out. I have such a support system just from the trainings that I do. I could call any one of these guys, and these guys are from all over the country, and they'd be there for me in a heartbeat. So it's kind of tough. You never know when that next trauma incident is going to cause it all to overflow. Just got to remember that it's there, and that the first shooting, like I said, they pretty much drink a beer, figure it out, shut up, don't talk to anybody.
Just
and
one beer?
We're trying to squash that now.
Just
Well,
yeah,
you
just
got
one-
It's not normally
like,
just one beer. That's the problem.
yeah, one
It's
six pack.
because
Yeah, I mean
the one beer doesn't solve the problem; it just makes it worse, and then the problem's still there. So,
right, and
I think we're just realizing now that there's so many, different avenues. You and I talked about Raul, Sam, when I called. I know I could call Raul any second of the day, and it would probably take him a minute to get to me, but that dude would be with me in a day if I needed him.
right.
So it's just having those outlets that are there, and then putting yourself out there to say, hey, I'm an outlet. If you need me, here I am.
absolutely, and that's having a supportive community, having people to reach out to that get what you do. Huge. Having that optimistic attitude, because it sounds like you definitely have that. Like you're
Right.
not. It's not a Pollyanna. I got this filing cabinet and it's all good, because it's not good. It's not good that we have the filing cabinet in the first place.
I'm okay right now. I mean, but
Yeah.
again, it could be one thing that happens tomorrow. It could, and you don't know what that is, and then what? So,
which right
having
there is
those
stress
outlets.
enough too.
Yeah.
Right.
Knowing, see,
Right.
on top of the stresses that and this is just compiles onto us, because it's not only the stresses we see, it's the stress of that filing cabinet opening up, and unleashing everything else, because that scares the hell out of every officer out there, going, oh my God, if that does open up, is that drawer opens up, what am I capable of doing?
Right.
And 100%. And I also think it goes back to the family members to understand that what those signals could be, and it may be something very, very minor, or it could be, I had an officer, a friend of mine I grew up with since elementary school, was involved in a shooting 26 years ago as a Missouri State Highway Patrol trooper, and he just now got help. He's the one that actually hooked us up with the lady in St. Louis. And his wife was like, you're angry all the time, and he didn't realize it. So it's those signals that, our family can even tell us, you're angry all the time. Is this the way it is? If it is, we need to find another job, or is there something else we need to do? So that helped him out when she was able to say things are not normal.
I mean, Sam, it took 10 years before my diagnosis, and I didn't see the anger that I was portraying. I didn't see the things that I was doing as anything from post-traumatic stress. I didn't, I became very angry. And we talk about my anger management and the way I respond to certain situations. And I can definitely relate to, after 26 years, going, holy crap, this was all because of something that I never got help for 26 years ago.
Right.
Right. And you think about that, and that's why now more than ever is when we have to smash the stigma and change change the next generation of law enforcement to be able to turn around and say, hey, I need help. I need someone to talk to. When I got into my shooting back in '93, I went to see they sent me to the psychologist, and I was in and out of there in 10 minutes. Hey, how you feeling? I'm all right. Okay, good.
Let me sign the piece of paper.
Yeah, here's your gun back. Go back out of patrol.
Yeah.
And I think that right now, and after speaking to some of the law enforcement departments that me and Sam have gone to, I feel that is still going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we have not really the smoke and mirror programs. We have to identify, and we have to make sure that they are taken out, because they're doing nothing but hurting our officers and hurting their families.
Yeah, and the big thing is
those officers are afraid to speak up. They're afraid to speak up because they're afraid they're going to get their, it's like the rubber gun thing, the old school rubber gun thing. You're afraid to speak up, so you're not going to be able to do your job. But
right, and one of the biggest things that, I mean, you're doing great work and making folks realize, like John and I, our message, Trauma Behind the Badge, is why, as I'll call it management, we'll just call the upper ranks management, why would management not want the best force possible? And when you ask them that, they're like, well, of course we want. Then those officers that are asking you for help, when they get the help that they need, you're going to get back a better officer. Why? Because they are going to be putting into practice all of the tactics, tools, everything they learn to help them with their PTS or their anxiety or their depression, whatever it is. They're going to share it with others. People are going to see, you're going to go from angry to happy. They're going to be like, who is this person walking in here?
It's like an investment into an officer.
It absolutely isn't it? Just like they spend all this money, training us, right? You've got to, and we've got a grant system. The White House just put out another opportunity for these departments to get up to $1 million to be able to bolster the training. Bring in folks that have been there, done that. Sure, you need the practitioners. We love John, who's on our team. You need that to kind of explain the science and why we went through what we did, why you people, the audience might be going through what they're going through. But absolutely 1000%, you tackle this, you build resiliency, you are a better human being for your department, for your partners, for your chief, for your spouse, for your kids. And it shows. And so to not have the buy-in from so many departments is still stay skeptical. It's tough. It's tough doing what we do. I
agree. The admins seem to still look at it as a liability. Where to me, if you quote fix that officer, he's 100 times better, and he can show other officers that it's okay to ask for help.
Right.
You're not going to be a quote liability. But a lot of admins still see it as a liability. And that's the problem. That's why we're putting our guns in our mouths, because we don't feel like we have any other place to go. And that's what's horrible.
Yeah. Oh, it is horrible to feel like you're trapped.
I don't know if you listened to the beginning of the show, Mike, but me and Sam were at a department the other day, and who have a supposed program in place. And, right on the door was the mental health office. Just throwing that stigma out there for any crazy officer to come walk into my office and sit down and let's discuss your mental health.
Well, that's kind of the deal with the officers involved in ours. He doesn't want to get help in his city. So he's gone to other cities to get help because he doesn't want it known. My wife is the same way. He doesn't want any local help because you don't want the stigmatism, and the stigmatism is still there. That's what we got to change. Like you said, it's mental health office. You got to change that.
Who's going to go in there? That's like going into the
Exactly.
STD office.
Right.
Hey, I got an STD.
Right.
I don't want anybody to know that.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, wow, this has been eye-opening, and so appreciate, Mike, the work that you're doing. I just want, before we let you go here and get back to, again, so appreciate you taking the time, because we know that you're with a group of folks doing training. So anybody that wants to reach out to Mike on Facebook, he is at Mike David, and that's all the information excuse me, that we're gonna give, because Mike is still active. So if you want to reach out to Mike, his Facebook page is at Mike David.
Yeah, and reaching out to Mike, just like reaching out to me or Sam or anybody from Trauma Behind a Badge to Raul, you are not alone out there. There are offices throughout this nation, or throughout this country, that understand and are only a phone call away. So if you're feeling the need and you can't go to your own department, you can reach out to anyone in this network, across the United States. Someone's going to pick up the phone and someone's going to say, "Hey, brother, I got your back. I got your six. I'm with you. I feel you. Let's chat and talk." There's no reason to say there is no help out there. There is help out there. All you got to do.
No reason to fight alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. So, Mike, once again, man, thank you so much. Be careful, be safe, keep up the great work. Anything that the Mad Radio Show can do for you, we will help get it out there. We'll help bring in your healing programs to wherever you need it to be brought to.
Yeah.
We're there to support you as well.
Thanks for being such a great resource.
Of course, I appreciate you guys.
Are you there? Did we lose him? Oh,
no, absolutely.
Oh.
Well, we will be in touch, Mike. Thank you so much.
Okay, Sam.
All right, take care.
Take care, Mike.
Goodbye.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Wow. So, gosh, if you're late to the show, you just missed it.
Yeah.
Major eye opener.
It is, and to see him having those same issues, this is a nationwide problem, Sam. This is a nationwide problem. It's not the small little cities. It's not the big city. It's every city. Every department is got this problem, and if we do not start smashing the stigma and getting people to open up and getting officers trust in getting their mental health wellness plan in place and being able to talk about it, we're going to continue to have suicides. We're going to continue to have the outbreaks. We're going to continue to have the anger issues, and we're going to continue to have the deaths at early ages due to medical problems, due to stress.
Absolutely. And just know that if you're, a chief, lieutenant, what bring the situation to light, understand that you're not starting from scratch. There are so many resources that are available. We can help you put a program together so that your troopers are absolutely covered, no matter what, and you will feel better. You'll be running a stellar department, a department that could be a shining example for other departments. I'm just going to say Grand Prairie is one of those shining examples in Texas.
Tarrant County Sheriff's Office.
Tarrant County Sheriff.
Sheriff Wayburn, man, he is not a behind the desk type of sheriff. He is out there with his people. He is out there asking them how they are. How was your day? Show some compassion in your officers. You wear those stars for a reason. You were promoted to that rank. Take
Leadership.
care of the health of your officers.
Right.
That's the main priority. They will take care of themselves on the street. Your job is to make sure that they are mentally healthy and available to go home, take care of their families, and to do their job correctly. Because if they have an underlying issue due to some sort of trauma, you are not getting the best performing officer out on the street.
Absolutely. Amen. So, John. How can folks support the mission here?
We need to go another hour. As like we always say, I know. This hour goes so quick. You can check us out on our YouTube page at Mad Radio Texas. Support, subscribe, and help us build our page and get our Healing Our Heroes awareness programs out there. You can buy Sam's book, the Silent Fallen.
Well, thank you. And we also we're going to be putting other books on there.
Yeah,
so on
Travis
the Facebook
House,
page.
Yep, Travis House's page. What his book is, The Burning?
I think it's Ignite Your Light or Find Your Light.
Yeah,
so we'll be
Finding
putting
Your Light.
Travis's book up there. We'll be putting Tegan's book up there.
And Savannah's
book up there. My book's up there.
Yep.
You also have the Stories from Texas, law enforcement
Yep.
up there. Great, beautiful pictures in that. So you can, that's how you can show your support. Log on to abadgeofhonor.com and click on Mad Radio.
Yeah.
And just click the donate button, because we can't do this show without all this amazing behind the scenes stuff that you just see me and John's pretty face on the, but we got equipment to make us look good, and that equipment isn't free. We are board op.
Yeah, we are a self-funded a self-funded show. Me and Sam do take money out of our pockets to make sure we heal our heroes in a proper way, but we can always use a little help in our network fees. So if you feel compelled to help us out, go to fbrn.us, go to the Mad Radio page, and click on donate. That's all you got to do is just click on donate. Donate $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever you can afford. $1, I don't care what it is. Every little bit helps, keeps our show running every Wednesday, and keeps us healing our heroes throughout our country. And if you want to really help out, go to fbrn.us, because the Sharky Awards is coming up, and vote for your best show and your best favorite host of the year, which I voted for Sam. So I think everybody should vote for Sam.
I voted for you. Oh, thank you.
So go check that out and vote. Be sure you vote for our Sharky Awards. And once again, if you're battling, please visit abadgeofhonor.com and email us, call us, text us, do whatever you can. We are always here for you. We will always be there to help you get through those hard times. We want to thank our friends and partners across the country: Frontline Crisis Response Solutions, Healing Springs Ranch, the Block Foundation, Combined Arms, Heroes on the Water, Blue Help, Our Watch, Stay the Course, 22 Kill, Survive First, and Trauma Behind the Badge. And don't forget to share and like our show and spread this out, because one click can save a life. And until next week, just follow us every Wednesday from 6 to 7. Any closing?
Just remember, it's okay not to be okay.
That's right. Let's start healing our heroes together. God bless.
Battalion 1 to Manhattan. Battalion 1. We just had a plane crash into Alpha 4 of the World Trade Center, transmit second alarm, and start relocating companies into the area. Battalion 1 is also sending the whole consignment on this box to that area.
Be honest. When was the last time you laughed at home? Wouldn't you love